Okay, so I am officially 9 days postpartum and I've already lost like 17 pounds. It was a medication that was supposed to soften your cervix, help you dilate and start contractions. It's like a 3-in-1 labor starter. So like every time I had a contraction, it felt like stabbing in my hip. Basically, the doctor had to reach in and get the baby's shoulder unstuck. Hello everybody. It's been a hot minute, I'm not gonna lie. I think my last video went live Monday? Okay, so it hasn't been that long, but I still have to edit this video and I have no idea how long that's gonna take. We'll see. Anyway, my name is Tasha. I was a gestational surrogate. I am no longer pregnant, which is crazy. So this video, I kind of wanted to go over, you know, the labor, the delivery, the postpartum, the pumping, like, if you know, you know, you know? I've got about half an hour before I need to, 1, pump again, 2, potentially meet my intended parents and give them all the milk that I have pumped thus far since I met them Monday, I think. The days are kind of flowing together and I like lack of sleep because I'm pumping, so I'm getting up in the middle of the night. I think it was Monday. We'll just go with that. So since Monday, I have pumped, here, I'll show you. So I've got this up here. This is from today. And then down here, I've got multiple freezer bags worth of liquid gold. And you can tell the difference between like this and this. That is super orange, not gonna lie. It's super orange because it's colostrum. It's supposed to be that color, in case any of you are like, oh my word, what did you do to that milk? No, it's supposed to be that color. Yeah. Breast milk actually comes in a rainbow of colors. Seriously, you can have reds and oranges and yellows and greens and blues and black. Like, I didn't even know it came in black, but I don't remember. There's like something, there's a reason why it's that color, but it's more of like a gray, but still gross. I would not want my baby to be drinking gray breast milk. That just sounds disgusting. So I am down to about 23 minutes. So let's get as much done as possible before I possibly have to meet up with my intended parents and do not even a trade-off. They're not giving me anything. I'm just giving them the milk. I swear, I started a note that had like all the times that things happened and now I cannot for the life of me find it. Nope, that's not it. What? Where did it go? I need that. Huh, the one that says delivery. Who would have thought? Okay. Let me just resituate here. Okay, so I am officially, let's see, 7, 8, 9 days postpartum. And I have to say, with how traumatic the birth was, I mean, it wasn't even that traumatic. There was like a complication that was figured out relatively quickly, but I've never had an issue with the delivery before. So it was like, what is happening? I have to say that I feel better now than I did at this point with my last surrogate baby, and probably the one before that. The one before that, I think I moved like 2 weeks after, which is insanity. 2 weeks? 3 weeks? I think it was 3 weeks after. Anyway, so I am feeling fairly good. Each day I feel like I have like 1% more energy than I did the day before. I'm not gonna lie, going up and down the stairs has been torture. Like going down is fine, but coming back up, like I am so out of breath. Yesterday I did like 3 loads of laundry, so I had to like bring the laundry up and was like so out of breath at the end. I'm like, I gotta sit down. I can't. It was so bad. It was like I should have done more cardio. So anyway, the meals that I prepped have been helpful. To be honest, they would be more helpful if my refrigerator was working properly and if my freezer wasn't so efficient. Right now, my freezer is at about 20 degrees, 18 degrees. Like, it's freaking cold, okay? And my refrigerator, the thermometer says between 35 and 40, but stuff in the back of the freezer I just pulled out today was frozen solid. So the meals that I prepped, I had put in the freezer. And then it says in the directions, you know, like take it out 24 hours before you put it in the crock pot. Well, I took out the first one and 24 hours later, it was still frozen. So that wasn't helpful. I waited another like half day, pulled it out of the freezer, set it on the counter and let it defrost for, I don't know, like half an hour or so. And then it was like half defrosted. So I put it in the crock pot on high and added I think it was chicken broth because it was chicken enchilada soup, chicken tortilla soup, something soup. So I put it in the crock pot, added the chicken broth, and then kind of like used the spoon to break it up and defrost whatever quicker. It was fine. I've eaten it several times, didn't get sick. It's fine. But it was still annoying that I couldn't just put it in the crock pot and let it go. Oh, and the lasagna. I made lasagna too. It was really good, I have to say. I have not tried any of these recipes ahead of time, so it was like, hope it's good, because this is what we're eating, because I can't cook anything right now. Yeah, it's worked out well. I need to pull out another one. I've got chicken ranch, crockpot chicken, ranch chicken. I don't know. I'll show you. And then I've got beef and broccoli, which I still would have to make the rice, but I can do that in the Instant Pot and it won't take too much. But like I said, like I feel better than I did before. Still super tired. I have been sleeping through my alarms at night to get up to pump, which has been super fun when I wake up. The first couple of times that I slept through the alarms, I had alarms set every 2 hours, like on the even hours. And so I would have an alarm for 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m., whatever. I started sleeping through the 2 a.m. alarm and I'd wake up randomly at like 3 and I'd get up and pump. And then my alarm would go off at 4, which like I would just turn off because obviously I just pumped. But then I would wake up an hour later at 5 needing to pump again. Like randomly. I have no alarm set for that time, but yet I was waking up. So I had posted in one of my Facebook groups, it's like an exclusively pumping Facebook group. They had said like, well, push it out so it's every 3 hours during the night. And so you'll get a longer stretch of sleep. So I tried that last night. I slept through that alarm too. So I went 5 hours in between pumping. Anyone that has like breastfed or exclusively pumped or, you know, any of that stuff, when you go too long, it hurts. I woke up this morning and I'm like, I don't think I can even get out of bed at this point because my arms, like I have to move my arms and it hurts when you move your arms to sit up. It was not fun, but I ended up pumping, let's see, what did I pump this morning? Oh, almost 9 ounces at 6 o'clock in the morning. I had an alarm set for 10, right? And I pumped and then went to bed. I had one set for 1, which I woke up and pumped 6 1/4 ounces. Then I had one set for 4, which I slept through the entire 15 minutes it went off and woke up at 6 and pumped 8 3/4 ounces. So almost 9 ounces. And then I went back to sleep, got up at 8 and pumped my regular like 3 or 4 ounces. Like clearly pushing it out to 3 hours didn't work either. So I don't really know what to do at this point. Because literally, like, it's the alarm on my phone. And if you have an iPhone, you know that the alarm continuously rings for 15 minutes. I slept through the entire 15 minutes of my alarm going off. And I like to use music instead of the like ringing alarms. And so it's a song, but I purposely picked the most like upbeat, loud, not irritating because I love the songs obviously, but like just something that would wake you up. No, didn't work. I slept completely through it. So I don't know what to do. I mean, do I pump at 8 and then go back to bed till 10 and sleep till 10? And then go to bed at 10 or 10:30 or whenever I'm done pumping after that. And then pray that I wake up in the middle of the night. It's not like I get up and start doing stuff. I literally pump, I go back to bed. I don't know. If you have any suggestions, please. I am open to try anything because at this point, it is just not working. And I thought, well, maybe if I wear my Apple Watch, it would help, like the buzzing on my wrist. But that didn't work either. I don't even know if it went off because I was sleeping and I forgot to test it. So, excuse me, old man. He's like 18 and deaf. Water. When you're breastfeeding or pumping, you gotta drink a lot of water. You also have to eat more. Not an insane amount more, but I have been eating quite a bit. I have to say though, I weighed myself. So my last doctor's appointment was the 18th of July. And I've been weighing myself several times. And I've already lost like 17 pounds. Right after I delivered, well, this is 2 days after I delivered, I had lost 8 pounds. Which is ironic because the baby was, just kidding. I'm gonna tell you in a bit. Okay, back to my notes. Now that I've gone backwards and told you about my pumping stuff, let's go back in time to the delivery. Or the day before the delivery. And I only have 10 minutes now. I'm gonna have to stop in the middle of my story. So we arrived at the hospital at 7:15. The front doors had closed and like locked at 7. So we had to go through the ER. There's like a metal detector and everything in that ER. I cannot believe it. I didn't actually have to go through the metal detector, which was nice. I have no footage from any of that, which is kind of sad. Anyway, metal detector in the ER. We went up to labor and delivery and they like put me in a room and they're like, we have something. There's like something going on. So they're like, we'll come back and hook you up in a bit. I was like, okay. So they had me change and at this point, like I had a hospital gown that I had bought on Amazon and was very excited to wear, but I wanted to wait until I was actually in labor to wear it because it was sleeveless. Like the sleeves are like this wide or straps, whatever. So it was sleeveless and I knew that during labor I get hot and I didn't want to wear the hospital gown when I was in like fully active labor hot, walking the halls, whatever. So I put on the hospital gown because I was like, I'm sure they're going to give me something. I'm going to sleep. And then like in the morning I can change just so I'm not wearing the same thing for like 24 hours. There was a whole thought process to this, okay? Put on the gown, I get in bed, and we wait and wait and wait. 9 p.m. rolls around and the nurse comes in. She's very apologetic. She's like, I'm so sorry. We had a situation we had to handle. I'm guessing there was someone who came in like fully in labor and they had to drop everything and like have this baby delivered. I was like, it's totally fine. We've just been chilling. Don't worry about it. So she finally hooks me up, puts the IV in. She's like, do you have a preference on where you want the IV? And I was like, here, not here. I hate when they put it in your hand because then when you move your wrist, it like messes with the tubing and it just, no. In your arm, here. Can't even see it, but there's like a spot right here. So that way you can still use your hand. And honestly, this vein is much bigger than the ones in my hand anyway, so it's easier to get. She's like, great, I love those ones. So she puts in the IV and like I feel blood trickle like down my pinky. I was like, I'm just not gonna look. She's like, I am making so much of a mess. I am so sorry. I was like, it's totally fine. She gets the IV in and like does a fantastic job. Okay, don't get me wrong. A mess is not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that she did it wrong. Puts the IV in, gives me the cervical ripener, right? At my last appointment, I was only 1 centimeter dilated, which if you've been following along, you know that I was having contractions and Braxton Hicks for like 5 weeks at this point. Absolutely ridiculous. I thought for sure I was going to be more dilated than that, but no, 1 centimeter. They didn't actually check me before they gave me this medication, but it was a oral, so you take it by mouth, medication that was supposed to soften your cervix and help you dilate and start contractions. It's like a 3-in-1 labor starter. So she says to me, you know, this is given every 4 hours. Some women need 2, some women need 3 doses, some only need 1 and they're like good to go. So I'll come back and check on you in 4 hours and give you your next dose. It's like, great. So at that point, that would be, let's see, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. So she left, of course, had done all the vitals and of course did their whole like 100 question survey. Do you feel safe at home? When's the last time you had alcohol? When was your last period? What's your weight? Blah, blah, blah. Like all the questions you could think of, really. She had asked all the questions. She had done all the vitals. Oh, the nurse had also gone over the birth plan. She had like read through it and she's like, okay, so questions. And so she was asking us questions about it. And she was like, so it says on here that you want the baby handed directly to the intended mom. I was like, that's correct. And the intended mom was like, is there any way that we can like wipe off some of the vernix, which is the white cottage cheesy looking slime? Seriously, it's kind of gross. She's like, can we wash some of, like wipe some of it off before you hand me the baby so it doesn't get on my clothes? And I was like, yeah, like you could, or here's this other option. And told her about what my best friend did when I delivered her daughter. Basically what she did was she took her shirt off and wore a gown backwards, which if you know, gowns are supposed to open in the back. So backwards they would open in the front, right? So she had on a gown, the opening in the front, and then just like a bra so that she wouldn't get stuff on her clothes when the baby came out. So there's that option too. She's like, oh yeah, that would work. So yeah, she asked a few more questions and then left. The parents stayed with me until about 11:30 and we just hung out and talked. And I was like, just go to bed. They had the room right next door to mine. So there was, obviously a bed in there, and then the couch transformed into another bed. And so they left and went to their own room. And I was like, I'm gonna attempt to get some sleep. Doubt it's gonna happen, but we'll try. So I laid down, tried to sleep, did not sleep at all. Like, not at all. During the night, I was having multiple contractions and I could feel them, but I think I moved a certain way so the monitor wasn't actually picking all of them up. It is 2 a.m. and the nurse just came in to give me my next dose of my, I think she called it misoprostol, which is the cervical ripening medication. And I told her, I was like, so the contractions aren't really showing up on the monitor because I keep looking. And she's like, oh, interesting. Usually it happens when you lay on your side, which is what I'm doing. And she put her hand on my stomach and she's like, oh yeah, you're definitely having one now. And it's not on the monitor. She also asked me if they were, more intense than when I first got here. And I was like, oh yeah, definitely. I can't fall asleep. She's like, okay, well, we'll hold off on the next dose and see, if your body just keeps going or if we need to do another dose a little bit later. So hopefully I can fall asleep, but, I highly doubt it. So it is what it is. So she repositions it, resets the machine, and leaves. 15 minutes later, comes back, and she's like, oh yeah, they're back to back. She's like, you don't need any more medicine because clearly your body is already taking over and is just going. That was super fun. The contractions were literally a minute apart and they were so uncomfortable. And I tried getting up and, standing and moving around. And eventually I was just like, I cannot. So around 5-ish, 4 or 5, I didn't look at the clock because labor, hello. I asked the nurse, I was like, how long do I need to wait before I can get an epidural? Because I know that, or I have heard, that women that go into the hospital or whatever, they need to be 3 centimeters. Otherwise the epidural can stall labor. And she's like, oh no, you can get it at any time. I was like, are you sure? Because, blah, blah, blah. She's like, no, you're here to have a baby. You're being induced whether you get an epidural or not. I was like, okay, let's make this happen because I am so uncomfortable. And at this point, still had not checked my cervix. I had no idea how dilated I was. She was like, well, I can check you now, or you can get the epidural and then I'll check you after it's taken effect and you won't be able to feel it. Because FYI, getting your cervix checked is very uncomfortable. And when you're in labor, already uncomfortable and having contractions and all the things, it is not fun. So I was like, well, let's just wait. Because at this point, the contractions were super painful. And I was having really strong hip pain. So every time I had a contraction, it felt like stabbing in my hip, in the inside, in my pelvis. She called the anesthesiologist. They came, she's like, do you want me to let your intended parents know? I was like, yeah, let them know. So apparently she went in and asked, Tasha's getting an epidural, do you want to see it? Like, do you want to watch? And the intended mom was like, yeah. So she came in and like watched the whole thing. I mean, it's fascinating how they do it, I guess, but I wasn't expecting her to be like, oh yeah, I want to watch. So anyway, the anesthesiologist was like doing the epidural. She's like, you've had one of these before? I was like, yeah, it's been like 8 years, but yes, I have had one. She's like, okay, sit on the edge of the bed, lean forward. Got it. Done this before. The nurse was like, yeah, put your chin to your chest. And the anesthesiologist was like, no, actually, like, this is great. Like, you don't even have to do that. She starts doing the whole, cleaning off your back. She's like, if you have a contraction or you need to move or adjust or whatever, let me know, obviously, because she's going to be like sticking needles in my back, into my spinal column. So like, let me know before you move. She's like going and she's like, okay, I'm gonna do the, the numbing, the lidocaine. She's like, it'll feel like a bee sting. Honestly, didn't even feel it. She's like, oh, I guess it's a good timing that you're having a contraction now because you probably don't even feel this. And I'm like, nope, I do not. Which was nice. So she does the epidural, patches me up, sticker over top of it, whatever, so it stays in place. And then she's like, okay, here is your panic button, and like puts a thing, it's like this shaped, like on the bed rail. She's like, if you need more medication, just push the button and it'll, give you more. Last time I didn't need more. I could still move my legs, but I didn't need an extra, dose of the epidural. I was like, fine, great, whatever. I lay back in bed and she leaves, but I'm still having this really sharp shooting pain in my hip. And the nurse had gone out to get a bag of fluids for me. She came back in and it had been several minutes at this point. And I was like, I am still having like sharp pain in my hip. She's like, okay, I can call the anesthesiologist back and have her, check whatever. She's like, it could just be a window where it doesn't work. And I was like, well, that sucks. So she's like, try laying on that side and see if the medication will like flow that direction and hopefully it will go away. And so I tried that. I tried laying on my side and honestly, it felt worse. Not like a lot worse, but definitely did not feel better. I tried, switching sides to the other side because I'm like, well, maybe it's the baby's head and it's like pushing into this nerve. So I tried flipping to the other side. That didn't help either. The anesthesiologist came back and she's like, well, did you push the button? I was like, no, it's just this one spot that's not getting touched by this epidural. And so she gave me another dose of something, not 100% what it was, but she's like, well, hopefully this will help. If it doesn't, push the button. And she left. It was probably about, 10 minutes later that it finally stopped hurting. Yeah, that was really annoying. So the nurse came back in around 6:40-ish. She's like, okay, we're gonna check your cervix to see where you're at. The one nurse was checking, and I swear it was like 3 or 4 minutes of her like feeling around trying to figure out how many centimeters I was dilated. She's like, the bag is like bulging, but I can't tell if there's still like a little bit on one side. She's like, I think you're 6 or 7 centimeters. And I was like, you think? She's like, yeah, it feels like there's still like a little bit on one side, but I'm not sure. I was like, you can have another nurse check, like double check to see if they're feeling the same thing. She was like, yeah, that's a great idea. So she calls in another nurse. The other nurse is feeling around. Didn't realize my cervix was so difficult to feel. She's like, no, you're done. I was like, what? She's like, no, you're definitely 10 centimeters and we're going to call the doctor. Like, okay, great. So she calls the doctor. 7 a.m. the doctor comes in. She checks me and she's like, no, you're definitely 10 centimeters. She's like, yeah, the bag is bulging like a lot. She's like, I'm going to break your water, but I'm going to set up the stuff first because I have a feeling that when we break the water, this baby's going to come out like water slide style. Great. The faster, the better. So she like sets up all of her stuff. They get like 2 more nurses in the room. The intended dad comes in. The intended mom is still there. She was there like the whole time. They get everything set up. The doctor breaks my water, which there were 2 layers. What? She's like, okay, I broke the first layer. I'm like, wait, it has more, like an onion? It has more than 1 layer? I had no idea. This is the 4th baby I've had. I had no idea. She broke it and they, you know, set everything up for me to start pushing. But, you know, because I have an epidural, can't feel the contractions, can't feel anything, which can be good and bad. It's hard to push when you can't feel because you're supposed to be using certain muscles and those muscles feel the same as like when you're TMI, but when you're pooping. Okay. So that's why a lot of doctors and nurses they tell you like if you poop during delivery, it means that you're pushing efficiently and in the right place. There's a lot of women, they're like, I don't want to poop during labor. Like, it happens. They basically set up they're not stirrups, they're like things that you rest your legs on. They're kind of like curved a little bit like this. And so you put your calves up on it. And so like, yeah. So they're like, can you move your legs? And I'm like, at this point, no. Last time I could, not so much this time. So they helped me get my legs up and they're like, okay, so grab, you know, 4th baby, I already know this, but they're like, grab, you know, back behind your knees and pull yourself up because apparently the muscles also help push the baby out. I have to tell you, postpartum, like after I delivered, this part of my like wrist hurt from like pulling, and also where your bicep connects to your elbow hurt so bad from like grabbing and pulling towards me. Okay, I'm back. You would have never known that I had left. My intended parents, well, parents now, they texted me and they're like, hey, can you meet up and bring us breast milk? I'm like, yeah, sure. I got nothing else going on. So anyway, just got back from that. Actually, I need to pump again. And I totally forgot, even though my boobs are telling me, like, get it done. So, 1 second. Okay, anyway, Ben is home now. He made a buttload of money working for somebody.
$90.
$90. Okay, so where did I leave off? I forgot. Oh, pushing. Yes, pushing. She broke my water and baby did not slide out like a water slide, unfortunately. I had to push for an hour and that was annoying. Very thankful for my epidural at that point because that would have just sucked. So I was pushing and it felt like nothing was happening. pushing for an hour, and the doctor kept telling me she's coming down just really slowly. And that was really frustrating because it felt like nothing was happening. In fact, every time I stopped pushing, I could feel her butt move back up into my rib cage. And so I was literally like from the outside pushing her butt down to try to keep her out of my rib cage. Like she was full on like bracing herself, trying not to get pushed out, it felt like. In fact, I joked with the doctor and I was like, if I push like her butt from the outside, do you think I can push her out? So anyway, kept pushing. Felt like absolutely nothing was happening. Finally, the doctor told us that she had hair, which, you know the wives' tale that's like, if you have heartburn, the baby will have hair. I've never had heartburn in my life, and I have given birth to not one, not two, but 3 hairy surrogate babies. They've all had hair, and it's always been black, which is funny because 2 of them now are blonde. So finally, her head comes out, and the doctor said something. I don't remember what exactly she said, but she said something, and all of a sudden I had like 6 people surrounding the bed. And I was like, what the heck is happening? And the doctor says her shoulder is stuck. And I'm like, oh great, that's just what you want. So basically the doctor had to reach in and get the baby's shoulder unstuck from my pubic bone so that it could come all the way out. And when I tell you, that was not terrifying, but what do you mean stuck? Like, I have worked so hard to get this much out. What do you mean I can't get the rest of it out? Not cool. Finally, she got her unstuck and she came the rest of the way out. Instead of her going directly to the intended mom, they put her on me so that the respiratory therapist could look at her. Yes, there was a respiratory therapist in the room for some reason. I have never seen that before. And they like rubbed her and made sure that she was breathing okay. And of course she started crying immediately, which was good. So after, I don't know, like 20, 30 seconds, they gave her to the intended mom. I mean, after they cut the cord. The intended dad cut the cord, shockingly. The peer pressure got to him and he actually did it. Afterwards, he told me, he's like, you're right, it really wasn't that bad. It's like, I told you. It's not that hard. So, cut the cord, handed her to the intended mom, and the intended mom sat on the couch that was like next to the bed. She sat there holding the baby. The doctor, you know, stitched me up and all the things. And as I was laying there and the doctor was stitching me up, I looked over and I'm like watching the baby with the intended mom. And I guess her lactation consultant had told her that babies can like start nursing on their own without any help. And so that's what she was trying to do. And I was watching and she's like coaching the baby. It was so cute. She's like coaching the baby. She's like, you can do it. Come on, you're almost there. You almost got it. And literally within 5 minutes, the child had latched on and started nursing from the intended mom by herself without any help. I have only seen that one other time, I think. There was like a video online that I saw of it. It was the craziest thing. So anyway, they hung out with me for a couple of hours after she was born and finally went back to their room, you know, so I could nap. I ate breakfast first because, you know, she was born at 8:15 in the morning and I hadn't eaten anything until then. And I tried to take a nap, literally napped for 1 hour and then woke up and could not sleep. Even though I had been up all night long, still could not sleep. So that is what it is. I cannot sleep in hospitals. I don't know what it is. It's just I guess, all the different noises and things and people talking in the hallway and the air conditioner noise and the machines and stuff. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, when I was taking a nap, I woke up to a woman in the room next to me screaming. And luckily, I only had to listen to it for a couple of contractions, I'm assuming. There was twice I heard her screaming, and then I heard a baby crying, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness, because I cannot stand the screaming. I do not scream. It's funny because one of the nurses, she's like, when I have kids, I want to be like you. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, you were so quiet when you were pushing. I was like, quiet? Like, I was pushing. I don't understand. She's like, so many women scream while they're pushing. I'm like, why would they do that? It's counterproductive. You need the oxygen to push effectively, basically. What? I never understood that. I've never screamed when I gave birth. It's not a thing that I do. Oh, yeah. Anyway, baby was fine. She was humongous. When I tell you she was huge. Yeah, so my guess, before they weighed her, the nurse asked everybody, like, how much do you think she weighed? I guess 9 pounds. The intended dad, I think, said 8.5. And the mom said either 7.5 or 8, I think. Don't hold me to it. I remember that they guessed lower than I did. She was 8 pounds, 14 ounces. My last surrogate baby was 7 pounds, 14 ounces. So this one was 1 full pound bigger than the last one that I had, which is insane. Especially because I only had 1 tear. It was a 2nd-degree tear. And that's insane. The last surrogacy that I did, I think I tore 3 times. And one of them was like up inside. My doctor was like, I don't even know how you did this. So the fact that I only tore the 1 time is amazing, especially because she was almost 9 pounds. So anyway, 8 pounds, 14 ounces, and let me see. I wrote down how long she was. 19 3/4 inches. So it's about right. I think that's about what the app was saying, if I remember right. So freaking big. When we were in the hospital, the parents came in. They're like, hey, do you want to hold her? I'm like, what kind of question is that? Of course I want to hold her. I don't remember who handed her to me, but someone handed her to me, and I'm like holding her. And I'm like, oh my word, you are so heavy. In my arms, holding her. I'm like, you are so freaking heavy. I don't understand. It was so crazy. Oh, anyway, that's what happened. It was crazy and quick, and I'm so glad that I didn't wait until I naturally went into labor, because I cannot imagine how big, like how much bigger she would have gotten in that time. Like, easily would have been 9 pounds even if I had waited, because you only needed to gain another 2 ounces, which is not a lot. I was so worried about being induced, but it turned out to be just fine. Like, it wasn't that bad. I didn't even get Pitocin. It was crazy. And looking back, like, the experience, it was so much harder than my last pregnancy, but like the birth was not as bad and the recovery is not that bad. Like, I've already stopped taking pain medicine. I mean, I don't have a ton of energy, but at the same time, like, I'm not in pain and I'm not, you know, laying in bed or whatever. Still not wanting to cook anything. So I'm glad I meal prepped some stuff. But at the same time, I feel great. All things considered. It's only been like 10 days, 9 days, however many days. Oh, and my whole, like, I really want the baby to be born when they're like 39 and, what did I say? 3. 39 and 3. That's what it was. She was born 39 weeks and 3 days. So that makes me happy. Anyway, if you're curious about surrogacy, you want to learn more, you can go and watch the playlist. I recorded almost every single week when I was pregnant, and I did record like all the screening process to becoming a surrogate and matching and legal and all the things. So if you're curious, I believe it comes up on this side. I can never remember. I think it's up here. Yeah. Anyway, I will put that playlist for you guys to watch if you're curious. You always leave a comment. I am more than happy to answer. If you have any questions, currently pumping, and I will be linking that video at the end of this one once I finished editing, because I can't link it before it's uploaded. So it will be at the end of this video eventually. It'll be at the end of this video. Speaking of which, I'm gonna finish up here and get some food because I'm freaking starving. I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye. Oh, I didn't show you my non-bump. That's gonna have to wait a second. Hold on. So a lot of people don't realize, but after you have a baby, you still have a baby bump. Even though there's no baby. It's a babyless bump. Okay. It's still there, like you're swollen and like inflamed and what are the words I'm thinking of? I'm so hungry, guys. When you deliver, you basically have a 5-month baby bump and it takes a while to go away. Don't expect to walk out of the hospital being flat stomached and whatever. So anyway, this is mine and it's slowly going away, but I don't mind it. It's fine. It is still kind of tender when I touch it, which is interesting. So I don't know if there's like nerves that are trying to get back to normal or what exactly is going on, but yeah. Now I will see you guys later. Don't forget to subscribe. You can follow me on several social medias. I'll put the link in the description and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.